Hello, my dear friends. I think with the part one of the discussion, we have now we have the basic understanding of what is the sphere of chitta and what is mind. And there, this sphere of chitta, to get out of that, we need some essential tool called transcendent awareness. In Buddhist context, you may have heard the word samasati. It is, in another way, we can call transcendent awareness because it helps you to come out of this, the world created by this sphere of chitta, the total process. Because this tool, especially this transcendent awareness, it acts as a third party point of view. It will give you the chance to see what is happening within you as a third party point of view. So with this awareness, let's say, as we discussed, you know, the process of eye, what is happening with the ear, nose, tongue and body, these five agencies, what is happening with these five agencies, what is the how the thoughts are initiated, how your mind works, those kind of things you will start to see within yourself. Now today, especially with this part 2 of the discussion, now we start to discuss about how to step into this path in detail. There, this sphere of chitta, we can another way call it our world, because every moment our world is created by this total process, and the existence of that world rely on the views formed within us. In Buddhist context, we call them dushti or ditti. And how these ditti formed, if we further drill down how they are formed, it is based on the naming that we do within us. So in other way, we can call them the conceptual designations. So based on that conceptual designations or naming, what will happen is the different kind of views are formed within us. So how we see our external world is through these views formed within us. So they are like colored glasses or colored spectacles. If we further discuss on these conceptual designations, so naming, the very first naming we have within us is the concept of I. What are the other naming we have? Mother, father, Buddha or God, nature. So there are set of naming that are formed within us from the childhood until so far. It is the collection of naming evolved. So we can call the whole set of naming, we call them sakaya. You may have heard that word because it is very much famous that if you are going into this path of Sowan, you need to eradicate the sakaya ditti. That means you need to realize how you see the world through these views that are formed based on this set of naming. So this set of naming we call sakaya, and the view we have through this naming we call sakaya ditti. So there are two things you need to especially aware, that the views are formed based on the naming, the collection of naming, that means sakaya, and when we see through this sakaya, we call it the views upon naming, otherwise the sakaya ditti. So I think you now you have the basic idea of this, how we see the external world through these views and those are formed with the collection of names. So for example, let's say sakaya, it is collection of names: father, mother, I, nature, all that are formed within us. So there are some, if we go into further detail, this, let's say, if you are having the idea of mother, then it is formed with respect to I. This idea is formed with respect to I. When we got the naming of father, it is also formed with respect to I. Likewise, God, Buddha, nature, Dhamma, any of these naming, once it is formed within us, the idea of I get straightened because it is a relative view. Let's say, for example, how these views affect our behaviors. For example, let's say we have some faith in Buddha, or we have some faith in God. Then what happens is, if someone blame the God or Buddha, let's say, if someone use and fill the word before the word Buddha or God, then some people will get violent and aggressive. It is because these sakaya, they are totally based on this sakaya, because the root cause lies on this naming. Even though you hear to Dhamma, this Dhamma is to transcend this context formed by the views and the naming collection, the sakaya and sakaya ditti and everything. Dhamma, the intent of Dhamma is to transcend someone from that context. But what will happen usually is, we will trap within this mechanism. So we will grab the words as the usual way, and it is much hard for people to get the exact way, exact path to come out of this context. So it's a challenge in this era, because our mind is totally based on information, and this process is much powerful within us. That's why we ask to listen Dhamma and see what is happening within you, using the tool called transcendent awareness, and awake your inner intelligence. So at the very first instance, if somehow it happened that if you can see this is happening within you, not merely understand it, but if you can see it, then starting from that point onwards, these views upon naming, the sakaya ditti, will start to collapse. Now we are going to particularly talk about the perception of body. The perception of body, the idea of body, is also within the realm of chitta. When you develop the transcendent awareness, what happens is, you will start to witness what is happening with these five agencies, how it is, how the idea is formed about your body. So in Buddhist context, we call it the kayanupasana. Kaya means the body. And with this kayanupasana, what will happen is, the special kind of awareness will start to develop within you regarding the process of these five agencies, the process of the body. So when you progress through this special kind of awareness regarding your body, what will happen is, your body, the perception of your body will start to disappear. Why it happens? The perception of body is formed with the view, which is formed based on the names that we use, based on names regarding the body. So it is in the sphere of chitta. Now you are getting the special kind of awareness and you start to see it, and that illusion can't persist. The feeling of the body will also start to cease. So especially this designated view is regarding your body, and your ego is much involved with this the perception of body. For example, you may feel that this body is mine, this ear is mine, this tongue is mine. Likewise, ego is strongly attached with the perception of body. When you have a sharp awareness regarding this process of the body, what will happen is that ego can't be formed with respect to the body, because you now start to witness the reality. So the perception of the body will start to disappear, and the feeling of the body will also start to cease. In Buddhist terms, this state is called nirodha, that nirodha of the body. That means the cessation of the feeling of the body. It will happen in some instant when you progress through this special awareness regarding your body. As a meditation technique, we can practice, as Mahaguru especially highlights in his explanation of the Sowan Path. He gave a special technique, breathing technique. So you let your breathing happens organically, and you start to witness it. In particularly, you should not involve in breathing. You just let it happen. If you do it correctly, then what will happen is the cessation of the feeling of body will start to happen. But there is a misleading point that some spiritual seekers may encounter. It's because when you meditate, sometimes some people's mind will get into deep calm state, and in that state also the feeling of the body will disappear, but it's a different situation. So the earlier what we discussed with the transcendent awareness, the disappear of the perception of body is happening because of the reality of this view upon naming, that sakaya ditti is the reality is understood by the spiritual seeker. But in a deep calm state, if you lose the perception of the body, it is not based on that vidarsana aspect. It is because the mind comes into a different state. So we have to differentiate these two ways, like through vidarsana, through kayanupasana, the feeling of the body can be ceased. Also, when you get into tranquility state, deep calm state, the feeling of the body will disappear. So those are two different occasions that spiritual seekers may experience the disappearance of the body. But in the path of Sowan, what should happen is by witnessing the actual process, that is the perception happen through by realizing that the perception happened through the view upon naming, and when the base is collapsed, then the disappearance of the body will happen, and it is the correct experience, it is the accurate experience that you should get when you walk in this path. So in vidarsana state, you will get a deeper insight about the process of these five agencies. And what will happen is you will get a deeper insight about the name and the form. We call it nama rupa. So there you will see the body as name and form separately. Now within this insight, your sphere of chitta regarding the body, now it is separated into two different parts, name and the form, nama and rupa. But even though I mentioned it, Mahaguru especially requests the audience to not to do it forcefully, because if you try to experience it forcefully, the mind will create hallucinations, so mind will create its own version of this experience. You will not get the deep insight. So what you should do is to let it happen within yourself. So just develop the transcendent awareness, just let it happen. So if your path is through this kayanupasana, it will happen within you and you will get the experience mentioned here. With that experience, the entire view of this world, entire view of the world, entire view of this sphere of chitta is now transformed into a different kind of dimension, that the spiritual seeker will see the reality in terms of the name and form. So that thing we call samadhi. Further, when you sharpen the deeper insight about this name and form, what will happen is you will realize within yourself that everything is based on this naming, and the views are constructed upon this naming, and you will realize it within yourself. You will see how it's happening within yourself. It is just not a mere idea. So the world is a named thing and a construction, a mental fabrication, and chitta is something what you constructed. Chitta is a concept formed. Once it happens, what will happen is the world that was formed based on this naming, views, and the mental fabrication, it is now baseless and it will become completely void. So the spiritual seeker will start to feel that emptiness. So with this, the entire worldview is it is now transformed into a transcendent view. We call it samasati. Here Mahaguru especially mentions some interesting point, that at this particular point, even though people believe that sakaya is completely eradicated, but it is not actually happen. It's like 75% of the sakaya is now ceased, but it is not completely eradicated. So with respect to that, the samadhi will be like 75%, and 25% of samadhi will still remain. So they have to develop it. And in this particular point, with the complete cessation of nama and rupa, that with the sharpened awareness, which was started with the transcendent awareness, the journey was started with that by listening to the noble person like Samma Sambuddha, Pacheka Buddha or Maharahat, and then that spiritual seeker develop the transcendent awareness and experience the separation of name and form, and with the sharpened awareness, the total sphere of chitta is now it is separated to name and form, and with the sharpened awareness, the cessation of name and form will happen, and at this particular point, the spiritual seeker will experience the complete voidness, complete emptiness. It is called Sowan Path Samapatti. And here some people will get misled that it is the state of Arhat, because they don't know how to decode that state. That's why special insight is required, like Samma Sambuddha, to to correctly know this state otherwise. But even though the spiritual seeker will get to know it or doesn't get to know it, the experience will remain itself. But merely knowing this won't be enough, so you have to walk this path to experience the real emptiness that is happening with the Sowan Path Samapatti.